Welcome back to another episode on my podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Dr. Amanda Noelle. She is a doctor of love for high achieving spiritual women. As a love mentor, Dr. Amanda specializes in guiding high achieving spiritual women on their profound journey to manifest life partners and realize their deepest desires. Dr. Amanda received her BA in sexuality studies from Duke University with a PhD in transpersonal counseling metaphysics, coupled with certifications in past life regression, therapy, life coaching, and somatic trauma healing. She seamlessly integrates academic expertise with channel spiritual wisdom. Known for her transformative approach, Dr. Amanda empowers women to overcome easily early childhood wounds, self-esteem blocks, and even past life issues swiftly. Her remarkable results include helping women manifest life partners, sometimes even within hours, and facilitating unique birthing experiences, often on powerful dates like 11/11. As a beacon of positivity, Dr. Amanda Noel extends her magical touch to support high achieving spiritual women on their journey to profound love and fulfillment. With a passion for spreading magic, good humor, and pleasure, she enriches the lives of those seeking joy, miracles, and deep spiritual connections. Dr. Amanda has a following of over 50,000 subscribers and has shared her expertise on stages with luminaries such as Jack Canfield and Bob Proctor. So, in this episode, we have such a special topic that we want to talk about, and that is about the sacred alchemy of love, the law of attraction, sacred sexuality, and divine partnerships. And the intention of this whole message is for healing, for reconnecting and reawakening within ourselves, and just sharing more messages in relation to this and being activated in those areas. So, welcome, Dr. Amanda. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast. We've known each
Woohoo!
other now for I don't know how long, since
Eons
2019.
and eons.
I'm sure since like Atlantis and Lemuria,
Oh, girl, I remembered you. You remembered me. Like, long time no see.
right?
Yeah, so beautiful to be here. Thank you. And thank you all for joining for this delicious ride that we're going to jump into together into the unknown of love.
For sure. Yes. I mean, there's so much to talk about this, and I feel like so many of us are still struggling with this, right? And there's talks about our divine partner and what is that. Um, like when I met you, it was through like Aphrodite University, and I was already working through all my stuff on my own, but you helped me, push further with some of your medicine and uniqueness of where you come from with your experience. And so, what I love about everything that you do for sure is the divine feminine, igniting that more. There's more emphasis of that because she's coming in very strong now with the new Earth frequency energy, right? So this is something that would definitely help, a lot of us to know about. But would love to hear more of, of in relation to this and how the sacred alchemy of love and explore more of this concept in relationships with you.
Beautiful. Yeah, well, you brought something up to the surface right away, which is the divine feminine. And of course, when we talk about relationships, we're talking about the union of both sides of ourselves, our dark, our light, our love, our fear. You have it all on earth, right? Our masculine, our feminine, whether we're in male bodies, female bodies,
Mm,
we have everything. And we have been in this paradigm where we've had kind of a split with the feminine masculine. We've been too in our masculine with the financial systems and pushing and
mm-hmm.
the priestess temples kind of went underground for quite some time. And it's just all about the
Yeah.
masculine energy. And we have both. And so for me, what was really confusing is I went through this divine feminine awakening and I started to do the work that I'm doing now before I received my PhD, before I was trained traditionally, that there was like an invitation by spirit. So I was working as an esthetician, which means I was giving women facials. And I was training in my mystery school, but before I even was really officially trained, I started remembering past life stuff, like the times in Egypt where I was a priestess, or the
Mhm.
times where my energy was open and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So this is very feminine, archetypal feminine way of pursuing our life. Is it just starts to happen and we allow it. And part of why this happens is because we're asking for this to happen on the soul level. Our ego is like, what the heck? Why did I just open my big mouth, ask somebody who's a very successful corporate, CEO, do you want an energy healing while you're getting a facial? Like the things would
Mhm.
happen. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And then, oh my gosh, yes, that would be so amazing. Then I would give readings on whatever was coming through. And most women would have a reason that they would come to me around love subconsciously. So I'd do a reading on their
Mhm.
love life. They would end up having a lot of these mystical things come true. Like they went to a restaurant afterwards, bumped into a
Mhm.
guy they hadn't seen in 40 years, and then they have a new boyfriend next week. That's this person. So I
Yeah.
started to I feel like my whole life I've struggled with a lot of doubt, but when there's this spiritual energy coming through, and when you have a reverence for the divine feminine, you have to just get out of the way and like let your intuition take you, because the feminine really is about the intuitive. It's about flow. It's about signs and
Mhm.
synchronicity. The masculine is like, hold on, I don't know if I can trust this. Let me check my charts and data points. And that's why I'm married to an engineer who loves to analyze like crypto charts and astrology. And
Mhm.
it can be really scary when we go into the journey of love, because love is more of a feminine attribute and light is more of a masculine attribute. Light is associated with like more consciousness and
Mhm.
linearity and sacred geometry and mathematical numbers and science. And the feminine healing arts is more like embodiment and water and flow. And it can be terrifying. It can be absolutely terrifying to go, you know what? I'm ready to love. Because when we go into those waters, the old memories of the floods of Atlantis, the memories of our childhood wounding, the memories of the times where we were heartbroken in the last relationship, they're still there. And so that's where the alchemy comes in, the sacred alchemy of love.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's remembering like growing up, I felt I had too much of the masculine energy. And so when I started really working more with the divine feminine energy, it just reawakened this other aspect of me, and all these other abilities and spiritual gifts started to open up as well, and started to trust more of my intuition, because that is more of that divine feminine flow of energy. And it also just sparks and renews the divine masculine in a different way, because the way that we've been operating with the old earth system is this dark or shadow masculine energy that is more patriarch. So there is, a bit of that alchemy that's well that, is occurring within ourselves, as well as in the collective. And so you just share some really like key points on that. Um,
Yeah, and I think
so
it's
yeah, go
so
ahead.
easy, right? To just to go into the matrix, especially as high achieving women. It's
Mm.
like, oh, hey, Monica, you have an MBA degree, you have an engineering degree. And Monica, you came and joined us at Aphrodite University for a divine feminine mistress and blissness and more, a way of doing business in a feminine way, which is something
Yeah.
that we've been teaching at Aphrodite University for a while. And it's still like, well, that's not real. It's so easy to get addicted to the mainstream systems and like not
Hmm.
leave our a high power degree, like we want to let everybody know that, we've achieved this. And sometimes it can be really hard. Even men have this. My husband got an engineering degree and he found it
Hmm.
didn't fulfill his heart. And it took so much courage for him to say to his family, like, I'm not going to be working for Tesla. I am leaving to go travel the world. And, they're like, what are you, Starboy? And he's like, actually, yeah, I come from the cosmos and I have these vivid memories of being a galactic commander. Like, how do you say this stuff? But that's the feminine energy coming through. It's just you're
Yes.
remembering. And it's,
Right,
it's
because
so hard.
society just like engraved this in us in more the masculine level that it's much more high value than it is, of this other feminine energy of like the flowiness and wanting to travel and wanting to do the spiritual work and make that your business. And then a lot of people frown on it even till now. Some people are still like that. Have people
Yeah.
say like, oh, well, spiritual business doesn't make that much money, but that's just like an old pattern and old system way of thinking. And so what I wish, is to alchemize a lot of that in all of us. Because I'm sure it's in our in it's in us, still in the subconscious level too. And so I feel like a lot of that, of course, is shifting, but it also has to start from us first.
Yes. Yep. The yin within, it starts within. And one of the reasons I think I created a successful spiritual blissness many, many years ago before. I mean, I had coaches tell me, don't launch your business. It's going to take a long time. You don't have the money. I started a business on $200 because I fully believed inside myself, like, I have to do this. I am so excited. And I had a mentor who is actually a Syrian being that would channel through this channel. And he was always saying, follow your highest excitement and like, you'll build it, you'll attract it. And I fully believed it. And I ended up just going for it and it totally worked. And I've had ups and downs with it, but I've been self-employed since then and never had to, go back to a corporate job or to what I was doing in the past. And I feel like it's so, so, so important for us to come into that self sovereign space. And one of the exercises that I do sometimes when I get lost, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't believe in myself. Is I'll write down the miracles that I created and that I
Hmm.
created with my guides. You can do this. You could be like, remember when I had that, illness and I cured it, or I manifested this amazing practitioner. Remember the time that, I wanted to get out of that marriage and I thought I could never do it. Like I did it. I moved and I got the money. And so write down that miracle list of miracles that you've created and you're going to walk away like, oh my God, I'm
That's a
such a
great idea.
badass.
That's such
Yeah.
a great idea because then it just keeps it fresh and reminding yourself that you can do this all the time, whatever change you're making, in your life. And yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes with bizarre synchronicities and number signs, and then you're really like, okay, why am I worried? I'm always being taken care of. Even with those signs, my first transaction that was a high-end client, I was terrified. I'd worked with a high-end coach and I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And the bank was holding up the money and they were emailing me, sorry, you don't have the like the credit to receive this amount of money because if there's a refund. And I was like, oh no, I just charge this client $11,111. And I feel like, I'm going to give her a year of like amazing work. And now I have to tell her like the money isn't like, I
Yeah.
can't do it. And at the bottom of the email, it was emailed at 11:11 a.m. and 11 seconds because bank emails
Wow.
have that. And I was like, all right, I feel like this is going to go through. And then like 3 days later, they're like, oops, that was a mistake. It went through. So we have to trust the universe and call in
Yes.
these, signs and synchronicities.
Yeah, I love how the universe communicates with us, right? Through these all these little different signs and synchronicities. It just blows my mind every time. And always like every time it happens, I just kind of chuckle and laugh at it and say, thank you for that message.
I know, and laugh at ourselves for like, oh my God, I was so worried that it wasn't gonna work out. Like I mean, it's comical how many times I'm like living in fear, and then I'm like, okay, surrender, let go, call in the universe, it works out, and then I'm scared again, and then so it's part of
Yeah,
I sometimes karmic patterns. Like we just got to embrace them this lifetime, laugh with them, work with
yeah.
them, roll with it.
There's a lot, still that, as being humans and having experienced so many different lifetimes that we're still clearing in us that as we're going through all these changes, right? And it just seems to be getting worse as well with some of these other like new energies coming into the planet, which is pretty much activating us, which is also releasing a lot of old stuff that's been buried in the subconscious layers within ourselves, right? And a
Definitely.
lot of it ties in with the law of attraction, which, I would love to hear how, all of that ties in from your insight.
Yeah. And I just wanted to insert this, and I've been completely obsessed with what happens between our incarnations. And the law of
Mm.
attraction, I feel, is like a master weapon or tool that can help us deal with before we come here, before we incarnate. I believe that we choose a lot of our karma. Like, we're like, what's on the menu this lifetime? So
Yes.
I'm going to be interviewing actually Aaron Green on my channel, who at age 6, he had this whole pre-life memory that came up. He was back on the light ship, maybe the sun. He said it was like he was living
Wow.
in like this light. And then he went into this place where his guides were helping him pick out, and he was an orb, but like a bubble of light. And
Mm-hmm.
he's picking out what his parents are going to be, who his parents are going to be, what he's going to look like, what his like major karmas are. And they helped him pick out his body and his parents. And then they were like, oh, just here's the disclaimer. You're going to like hurt
Disclaimer
both.
here.
Yeah, like
A fine
forewarning.
line here.
Here's the karma that it comes with. The price tag is you're gonna like, I don't know if it was break both of his shoulders, but like dislocate and like badly wound his shoulder, both shoulders. But the earth
Wow.
technology will probably be able to fix it. And he had like a couple of really weird things that were gonna happen to him. And at age 6, he's like, that was weird, but it actually all happened. And and also he would, he picked the parents he wanted, he remembered having, he got them. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, before we even get to like what I want to call in with the law of attraction, what am I working with here? Like, what is my karmic blueprint? And I truly believe that we are sovereign creators. And even though we might have made some agreements with our guides before
Mm-hmm.
coming here, even though we might have signed some soul contracts, we can work on reneging it. We can say, you know what, this is too much. I'm not in alignment with this anymore. I'm way too traumatized. I don't want to be continually living in toxic relationships, even though maybe I signed up for that blueprint from my ancestral lineage, etc. So yeah, just take a moment to feel into like, what did I sign up for before this lifetime? And then maybe what are the things where it's like, I'm ready to set a boundary with my higher self that thought I could do this. And now I'm like, okay. And the cool thing is we are so powerful. We are amazing. We can transmute. But I think collectively we're getting to that point where we're like, did we kind of go a little too crazy with the whole trauma thing where we're like, let's just take on as much shit as we can and we'll alchemize it. And like, yes, we can.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus can do it, so can we.
Right.
And like, is it really fair to the inner children to no? So law of attraction to me is like once you are aware of your core wounds and blueprints of like what you don't want, it's a helpful, like it's like through the twin flame polarity. So we have the shadow, oh, that's not what I want. That did not work for me. Then we can really ask, what is like the opposite of that? So, oh, if I manifested a partner who did not want to fully show up for me, or I keep chasing after married men, or my twin flame is married and they're not showing up. Whew, what is the frequency of that? And what is it that I want? And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes the desire is buried within our subconscious. It's buried within our inner child and our what I call the sacred wound. And at the essence of it, it's a frequency which can be accessed through an emotional state. So what is the emotion behind it? The law of attraction, sure, you can have the beautiful, I mean, I've had the crazy law of attraction things where I did the collaging, where I like make a collage of what I want to manifest, put it away, just like in the movie The Secret, and then I pull it out and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like I did that with Aphrodite University. I happened
Yeah.
to have like a Vogue magazine that had an Aphrodite dress, and I put it in this whole scene. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm leading Aphrodite University retreats in Bali. And it's like exactly like 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do those things, the law of attraction, um, writing things down, do the prayer, but beyond that, like, what is the emotion there? What is the desired result that you want? And also, what is the wound that you might be desiring that from? And this is what I think is really important about Sacred Love
Mm-hmm.
Alchemy, is we sign up for the shit so we could shift it.
I
And
love
there's
your
a
saying in that, yes.
Yeah, it's not a mistake. We signed up.
Right,
We signed
right.
up for this stuff. And like a good example is like a woman who constantly, and this was me, who constantly falls in love with like someone that she thinks is amazing, better than her, like he's a god, and then he comes in, she woos him, and then he leaves her after maybe a couple of days, a couple of years, whatever it is, and she's like, I'm not good enough. And so this continually might happen. So that is, we know it's a sacred wound if it has happened with multiple partners, and the flavor starts to feel like, here we are again. If we
Mhm.
have that, here we are again in our love life, then that's usually coming in from the early childhood, a sacred wound, and I would say pre-life karma. That pre-life karma also is going to resonate with the DNA that you have,
Mhm.
because DNA is also holding emotions and energy and understanding through the memory of our ancestors. Oh, hey, here's an example. I had an experience almost exact to my mother's experience at almost the exact same age. Unpack
Wow.
this, had that same, great, 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 great. I think it's like 4 greats or 5 greats back. Grandmother had the
Wow.
same experience. And I kind of gave some of it away. I'm not supposed to say about my mother's experience, but I will say that it was a highly horrific, traumatic experience. It had to do with the government. It had to do with some intense, heavy stuff that I had to
Yeah.
heal. I didn't realize, oh, I'm healing Kaisa, like Kaisa, the Swedish, grandmother that I never met. Her stuff with her, her unborn child. So, or her child that she ended up losing.
Yeah.
Um, I really wish I could share more about it, but my mom's like, I don't want to share my story. It's too personal.
Right, no, I hear you. Yeah.
Crazy. Our 30th birthdays, all of us, it happened right around our 30th, beginning of our 30th year.
But you came here, right, to break that cycle and that ancestor pattern because you signed up for it.
Exactly,
Just
exactly.
like a
Have you
lot of
had
us.
any? Yeah. Do you feel like you've had that experience in your
Oh
life where
yeah.
you're like, oh, this isn't just me. This is
Oh
like,
yeah, I have because in my family dynamic, it was with my mom having the three kids, us. And then with my sister, my siblings, they had three. So it was almost like this, karmic cycle about like having those three children. But in a way, I kind of broke that cycle by not having children, you know, and carrying
ah,
some of that trauma there that still comes, within my family lineage of ancestry that has some of the natives, indigenous trauma as well. A lot of things which I had to like really heal within myself and break. And which is a continuous process, right? I know there's still some residue, around there. But it is, a process in us. I feel like a lot of the listeners also are going through that. Um and so I remember that, I signed up for some of these things that were, for me to like break those cycles. And I accepted certain things, certain sacred wounds, as you call it, which I really love that term, sacred wounds, from my mom, and that I've been shifting in me. But I also felt that it shifted a lot in the ancestral lineage as well. So
yeah,
yeah, I really resonate with what you're sharing.
yeah, yeah. I think of it as like, okay, if there's 2 dots, then you can draw a line. So that connection with your mom and you, that's going to go all the way up the line and all the way down the
Hmm.
line to whichever ancestor is ready to receive that light. And it's challenging when we break the patterns, because patterns are familiar. They are so familiar. I mean, they are
Yeah.
literally holding the frequency in our DNA. And when we change that pattern, the photons that were going in an old direction, and we're
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm ready to align in this new way. I choose to have more freedom, which means maybe this lifetime not having 3 kids, and to have my soul purpose come back
Hmm.
on online. And you shift this pattern when you listen to spirit, or your heart. You're like, okay, new pattern is this. The old pattern is like, hey, over here, you're supposed to do this. There's something wrong with you. Or it's like this, um, because the old photon patterns that were shaping that DNA, they're not there anymore. So there feels like a death. So if any of you are trying to, or you are in the process of interrupting an old pattern, whether it's um, food addiction, love addiction, being attracted to an old type of partnership that you know is just not going to support your soul purpose mission, your twin flame energy. And like when you shift the gears, the old gears are like, get back here, or you feel like you're going to die. Just know that that's very normal. That's part of the process. In
It is
fact, I
part of
just
the
got off
process.
a
Yeah.
call this Right. I got off a
Yes.
call this morning with the client and I told her, I was like, you're doing such a great job. And if you feel like shit right now, we just broke a bunch of patterns. So I gave her some homework on like how to heal, like some embodiment practices, some drinking some certain like spring water with salt, and also like just expect that the detoxification can feel uncomfortable. Keep going. Don't give up. And we need that we need that reminder constantly, because breaking down the old familiar patterns, it can feel like we're dying.
Very much, yes. But that is part of the metamorphosis, right? Because the caterpillar really dies in a way, but it's a
Yep,
transitional state that
exactly.
gets metamorphed or physically changed into a
Alchemize,
butterfly.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
alchemize, in other
And
words.
you're getting to the higher level of the
Hmm.
next substance. Maybe you're at silver now or bronze, and yet it's like I just want to be in lead. It was lead I was born with, or it's comfortable. It's yeah. So just expect that leap. And I know Gay Hendricks, who wrote a book called The Big Leap, he calls it the upper limit problem. When we come to the next level of like that phase in our life, whether it's we bought a new house, we got in a new healthy relationship, we used to not have this. It's
Hmm.
like there's going to be some snapback. Jack and I, my husband and I, we just went through this like next level in love and connection, and we're actually planning on calling in our next star child. And there was this huge leak. We like
Yeah.
stepped in the hot tub, the jacuzzi, we're all sexy, like, woo, this is great. And then we're like, why is the water coming out? It turns out the repairman didn't tell us we're not supposed to take hot tubs. So we had like
Oh,
all the gallons of water just on our floor. So we spent the next 6 hours like cleaning and calling plumbers and freaking out. And we were just laughing because like, well, the workshop we had just left was talking about, healing trauma patterns, and we felt so much more connected. And it's like, oh yeah, upper limit problem. Oh.
wow, that's so amazing. It's like you mentioned twin flame, right? Which I've also been on this campaign about the twin flame energy. And I know
Yeah,
that Jack is, your husband is a twin flame to you and also your divine partner. So I would love for you to share a little more about that for the listeners, so they can hear your insight on twin flame and divine partner, as well as maybe getting into magnetizing your life partner.
totally. So I became obsessed with the term twin flames when I heard it, and I can't exactly remember the first time I heard it, but maybe, the second, third time I was like, what is that? And I did a Google search, and my soul sister Magenta Pixie, she was like one of the only people out there that had a topic, video on that topic. And I dove down the rabbit hole, and she said something like your twin flame is different than your soulmate. And oh my gosh. So I've had the question asked thousands of times, and each time I've had the question asked, I almost have like a different perspective on it. So
Mhm.
that's a sign to me that it's something that's not finite. It's something that it's kind of like, what is God? Well, God is
Yeah.
this man in a robe. No, God is everything that is. God is, my yoga mat where I do my magic right now. So there's so many different expressions of twin flame energy. I think it would do a disservice to define it. But one thing I know that it's not is what happened to me is when I got stuck in what I would call a false twin flame, where I thought
Mhm.
somebody was my twin flame. And I became so convinced about it to the point that I like literally almost went crazy for some time. Like I got
I've been
myself into
there.
a situation. Yeah. And
Just
I think more than one of us here, like I think there are a lot of
yeah.
people out there that can say they've
Mhm.
lost their minds to love, and um what a gift. But at the time, not so much, right?
Yeah.
So I chased after this person thinking it was my twin flame, and I merged my psyche or I was in his psyche. I was just like, I want to be with
Mm.
you. I know you're my twin flame. And after a time, well, I had this premonition that said, he didn't want to be with me. So in real life, he did not want to be with me. He was like, we're done. I think it's best I love you and we're not doing this. Um, so I had to respect his boundary, and it was very painful to the point that I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat for like 6 months. And then after 2 years, I started to feel some flavors of joy come back, but I was pretty much stuck in this depressive state. I had this premonition early on, and it was like, you are going to get to choose. And it felt like 5 years from when he first broke up. It was like, you're going to choose between him. He is going to come back. And by then, you're going to have met somebody new. And I was like, wow, that's a weird premonition. I hope that doesn't happen. It did happen. After 5 years, we were talking again. He ended up actually flying next door. He didn't know I lived there. He's like, what part of San Diego do you live in? And he's like,
Mm,
I was just there like this weekend for a wedding. But we had talked. I was already with my partner. My husband said, it's okay if you want to talk to him to complete karma, or, if you feel like there's a spark, I don't want to waste time, like go talk to him. And the truth was, there was a lot of spark. We talked for an hour and a half, like you don't like catch up with an ex and like talk for an hour and a half if there isn't something. So we felt a
yeah.
spark. He's like, let's talk in 2 weeks again. We talked in 2 weeks, and then there was still a spark, but he had missed the boat. He didn't come and see me. And I, in that 5 years, did so much healing on myself. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to experience kind of both flavors of intense, passionate. I think this is my twin flame. Whether, maybe there are people where that just works out and they choose that person. And there was like this obsessive, passionate, he is the only one in the world. And then my husband, he had a very different flavor.
Mm,
He had this soft light. It felt to me like the resurrection of like this Holy Spirit. We met on the dance floor at Ecstatic Dance. The first time we ever met, we danced into each other's fields. And he said he remembers like a beam of white light, like coming down into my space. I think I was wearing an all white outfit. Maybe that had something to do with it. But I remember seeing his light like that too. And
it
he
was
was
the
not,
beam of light.
yeah, maybe it was the beam of light. He was wearing some like really dorky, like I think it wasn't the shark t-shirt. He had some like really old, ugly t-shirts where it's like, oh God, this guy is like dancing to me. He's 10 years younger, almost he's 9 years younger. But the light brought us together and we could both feel it. And it was so sacred and like
Mm,
instantly, this feels good. Like I felt like more oxygen, like
yes.
feeling that I had with the other guy was like, I want to be with him. Will he be with me? He's always run for me. And I know I found out that in a past life, he left me with 3 kids. I had to make money in ways that were not so in alignment with my ethics and sexual
Mm,
energy. And it was very traumatic, but there was so much like love meets passion meets abandonment with that person.
yeah.
In contrast with Jack, it was so clean. It was so easy. It was so light. It wasn't easy because I made it dramatic. I kept trying to break up with him and I was like, no, I need to be either with this other person or find someone that's like him, who's like a millionaire and older than you and like flashy and ego and everything. But I kept staying with Jack because it felt divinely right. And my ego was like, leave him. But my soul, at that point, I started to listen to self-love and soul, my inner child as well, was like,
Mhm.
he's a really good person. Just sit with him, be with him a little bit more, one more day. Okay, one more week. We ended up basically from the day we met, we talked every day on the phone, or we lived together, spent every day together, not all day together, but we were in contact to this day, minus a 1 week window where we went through the twin flame separation, which I think all couples have a twin flame, all twin flame unions will go through a separation and it serves a purpose. Not a fun feeling at the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
yeah.
because of the really intense mirror that the twin flame has. Of course, we're all mirrors, but in the twin flame, it's like 10 times more intense.
Yeah, and I feel like I could hold it with Jack. I couldn't have held it with this other soul because I feel like it was so much of a trauma bond experience. And like I cried my eyes out when I saw Star Wars. I forget which, there's so many renditions of Star Wars, the more recent
Yeah.
one, where basically I don't know if it was Darth Vader or like the new version of him, but Darth Vader was basically creating this like this couple, these two couples to like, sorry, a boy and a girl were coming together and they started telepathing each other and they fell in love and they thought that it was love, but it was actually Darth Vader like matchmaking them to be together. And they kind of did have this soul bond. And in the end,
Mm.
he ends up dying for her because he says, you know, if I don't die for you, then I'll kill you because Darth Vader has got me basically. So he ascends and then she's
Oh, I
stuck in
love
Sacred
that. I
Alchemy.
love that movie. I think it was like one of the more recent ones, which was pretty unique. Um,
Yeah. And I think there's a blueprint behind it that can resonate with a lot of people because I do feel a
mhm,
lot of, especially a lot of women who end up single for a very long time. It's almost like the best decision we made was to let go of that dark flame.
mhm,
But the next level is going, and I call in the resurrected version of that, my like transcended um divine masculine or divine partner. And the challenge for me was being like, oh, it's so light, it's so higher chakra, and my
mhm,
job with Jack is the alchemy of pulling it down into the sexual centers, pulling it down onto earth, grounding. That wasn't as much of a problem with the other partner. It was like more fiery and more lower chakra-y.
mhm.
um so um
It was more fear-based.
Yeah. And the lessons that my soul needed are exactly what I've manifested. As much as I'm like, oh, it would have been so much fun to just have like the easiest life or the most passionate, you know, person come around when I was in my mid-20s and live the dream life. It's like, well, you know what? We all get what we need to grow and evolve.
Mhm,
And my hope, and this is why I do this work, is to make it easier, especially for so many of us that struggle with self-esteem and abandonment, and so many women that you know, these powerful, beautiful, loving souls can do so much in the world, and
mhm,
an achy breaky heart sometimes can drain their energy. They stop pursuing their life purpose work because they're always focusing. I mean, for me, it drained me to be so heartbroken and feel so broken. So that's
mhm,
why I'm like, okay, let me help prevent heartbreaks, help build women's self-esteem. And there are ways to do that. And
mhm,
I, you know, I don't think we're all meant to be going through multiple divorces. It happens, but I think
mhm,
that if we have more of these mentors and structures and guidelines to help, like, how do we build a healthy chakra system and heart, and how do we
mhm,
identify healthy signs in relationships, having our love mentors, then maybe we'd have more children that were born to parents in twin flame union, or people that are doing their twin flame purposes together in this more harmonized state,
mhm.
versus constantly dealing with the old patterns that keep holding us back, trauma patterns and
Yeah,
toxic
the tricky
blueprints.
business.
It is, it is. We
But
won't
I
listen.
Yeah, I feel though that with the new Earth frequency that we're going to be seeing a lot more of twin flame unions and pairs. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, I feel like I've seen it. I remember when Jack and I first got together, we were like, where are the other twin flame couples out there? We were kind of like a little bit of a celebrity like couple back then. It was like, whoa, you know, we're twin flame, and we were like calling ourselves twin flames because at the time it felt like the twin flames out there were like, my twin flame is running, my twin flame is as I'm running from them. We're in
Mhm,
separation. And then I remember all of a sudden a couple years later seeing like Facebook groups that were full of chats of like, hey, I'm with my twin flame. Do you look like your twin flame? And there'd be these pictures. And I remember this one day where I was like scrolling down and I was just laughing. Jack and I were laughing. We're like, oh my God, everybody looks like whether they're the same race or not, you know, they had the same
look,
faces, same facial features, the same eyes, like the glow. And we're just like, oh my God, this twin flame thing is blowing up. It's real. And like, you know, everybody's always asking, like, do you all twin flames look like you guys or look alike because you guys look like brother and sister? We
but you
laugh. It's
guys do look alike.
we've become more alike. And I think part of it is the photons. When you
Mhm,
mirror your mirror and you're physically present and your emotions. I mean, we read each other's minds. Like we'll have moments where like I'm like, oh, he's about to ask me about the taxes or something. Like I can like feel it, like we're like blissed out, and then I'm like, oh no, don't ask me about the taxes right now. I just wanted to have a day off. And then he's like, so the taxes. So we have this like telepathic morphing, we have the energetic, the physical, the sexual, the fluids. So our DNA does start to align with the new photonic flow of
Mm,
energy. It's all based on consciousness, really. Um,
yeah.
so where our facial structure patterns start to mirror each other as well. The light
Wow,
in our eyes telling us
I
the
definitely see
like,
that. Yeah, and I love that explanation too. So, as
I
I was
didn't make that up,
thinking,
by the way. It's like quantum physics. And when I read it, I was
oh,
like,
it
that
is.
makes so much sense.
It
Yeah.
is.
The
Yeah, I can
keep
attest to
bouncing.
that because I talk about a lot of quantum physics, and there is a lot of talks now about photonic, which is all relation to the light, um, which we all have, and it is part of the galactic and the cosmic energies. And where we're heading, where we are now with this new Earth frequency is more photonic light. And so, yeah, so a lot of the twin flame unions are also, receiving that more so, and that means that there's going to be more of that coming in the new earth. But in the meantime, though, we're there's so much still that we're human and still releasing a lot of stuff, right? And people getting over like certain toxic relationships and karmic patterns, and trying to break those cycles as well. So
Yeah.
what is your insight on all of that? So
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say one of the most important keys is to move from toxic shame and do the shadow work to the point where it's like, wow, yeah, I'm so proud of myself for my shadow. I'm so proud that I signed up to go into toxic relationships to feel
exactly.
lesser than so that I could bring in my Christ force energy and heal it, love it, alchemize it. So there's this kind of reclamation that I feel is so important for the sacred alchemy of love is to take responsibility, claim our authority. A lot of times we're walking around like a dog with a tail between their legs. Oh, like I haven't figured this out yet. There's something wrong with me. And we go to counselors or, we go to the wedding and everybody's getting married. And we're like, oh, why am I still single? Or, but instead being like, wow, in this pain right now, I choose to bring in love and my inspiration. Like, what
Yes.
would Jesus do? What would Lady Jesus do? Like, here we go. Let's do it. So it's really important to have that so that we can continually practice positive thinking. When we're in a positive state, the universe gives us positive experiences. If we're constantly in that, oh, what's wrong with
Pain
me?
and suffering, and we're going to attract that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is there is like a duality. We have to embrace the pain and suffering. Like, oh, okay, I
Hmm.
have some ancestral stuff, or here's my pattern where I close down and shut my heart and I feel lonely and I have sadness. Can we have that and then also be above it and love it or
Yes,
integrate into it? Yes, and
exactly.
right.
Yeah, I love that explanation. Definitely about
Yeah.
like just loving it, and instead of just fighting it, I guess.
Yeah, because it's real, we all have trauma. We have early childhood trauma, we have ancestral trauma, we have cellular trauma, we have collective trauma.
Mm,
And I don't feel that anybody is going to completely clear it to the point where they're just like perfect all the time. I feel like there's a service to spirit where we're like we're cleaning this up. It's a big collective thing. We're each doing our part. And so instead of having the shame around it, to take responsibility, have pride, see it as a job, see it as something that you signed up for this lifetime. And by tuning into the positive frequency, having the positive thinking, it becomes like so tiny. It becomes like, okay, the clam, what is it, the oyster that has a grain of sand is, oh, it's just a grain of sand. And then it becomes a pearl. It's like this beautiful thing. Like,
yeah.
yeah, that's so comfortable. So how to play with our trauma, how to heal with it so that we're not getting brought down into it. I think that's a really important thing. And I think a lot of light workers are realizing like, oh, I can get addicted to healing, or I can go into the darkness a little too much. I need to make sure that I find a way to go in it without becoming it, without going too far into it.
Without becoming Darth Vader from them.
without becoming Darth Vader. Yeah. And,
Right.
sometimes we do. We're like, oh, shoot, like I've gone so negative that like I'm complaining. During the pandemic, I think a lot of us were like, whoa, we're
Yeah.
trying to keep our light. We got pretty close during certain moments. We were all going through our own personal shifts and losing businesses or, egos.
Yeah.
And
Ego
yeah.
death. Which is all transitional state too.
Exactly, exactly. You've got to laugh sometimes, like on a spiritual level, or spirit's like, oh, it's totally fine. They've lost this and that. Like, they don't need that. They think they need it. And like, we're like,
Hmm.
you can just kind of like laugh at it a little bit. It's actually
Yeah.
pretty,
Bring
it's
in some
really
of that
cool.
joy vibe, help break that seriousness in it and that pain and suffering and fear, rather than just dwelling in it. Just suck your
Yeah.
energy out.
Yeah. And from like Aphrodite University, like we're all about bliss instead of business, blissness, like living
Yes.
your
And I
life
love that.
bliss. It's not just kind of like a cute thing. Like we think of like, oh, like pleasure, that's nice. But
Mhm.
pleasure, bliss, love, joy, these are energies that keep us high and keep us
Mhm.
in that spiritual connected state so that when we're descended into the body, we're still connected to that heavenly realm. So, in heaven or whatever you call it, pre
Mhm.
lifetime, everybody who's there, they remember like it's pure bliss. It's light. It's like
Yeah. And
cellmate,
we can
the
create that
divine grace.
here on earth, like when we like doing the work that we feel pleasure in, doing that we love to do, like that blissness, like you're talking about, like really like serving in that, when you really tap into your soul purpose and you get excited, like earlier you're talking about what makes you so excited, so if it's something that really gets you excited in the work that you do, then that's where you want to be following that flow of energy right within your own heart and your soul. Because I,
Yeah.
see so many people right now in certain like works that they do, it's not in their highest excitement, and so they're doing it just because it has, this high value that society thinks it does, or because of the financial means, which is another story with the financial system.
Yeah, yeah. And like sometimes it's the reality that we signed up for. Like we need to be in that make money maker.
Hmm.
I had a client who he's like, I want to hit six figures, like doing my business. And he did it. And then he was like, now I'm bored. I want to go do something else. And then he kind of just like started a DJ business. And then his dad was like, you need to take a job for DoorDash because you need to pay your bills. And he's like, that's, like sometimes you just got to do that. And it's okay to still be at that corporate job. It's okay to be doing the
Hmm.
DoorDash as long as you have the intention and you're on that path. Like I feel like as long as you can bring the joy, the bliss into that, and then follow your highest excitement. If that's not your highest excitement, maybe for some people that's they're bringing light to your doorstep, they're bringing good food, or
Yeah.
they're job.
They're all serving a purpose in a way. And in a way, though,
Absolutely.
like since we're talking about alchemy, you can also alchemize it and make yourself excited for it, and just do something that is, more creative, and more finding the points, in there that can bring that joy as well. Like bringing in some of the gratitude, for instance, at least gratitude for having a job, right? Having being able to pay the bills and giving gratitude for paying the bill and however amount that is. And that is like really small steps of also producing that joy and that excitement as well.
Totally. Yeah, I know like even just putting on like a crystal necklace or something and having that on your heart or having something on the desk or
Yeah,
painting your
that
nails
helps.
one
Yeah.
color, playing music at yeah, there's so many different ways that like yeah, bring in that bliss frequency and what a gift to know,
Yeah.
like bring in that energy. And I see this happening in offices. People like I have a friend who's one of the most successful bankers in her sector, and she's like, I'm decorating my office with like the divine feminine, like I have flowers every day and cushions, and we're bringing in our unique frequency into these sectors. They're going to awaken, and those old systems are going to either break down or they're going to alchemize. So, yeah.
Exactly. Let's dissolve it with love.
Yeah.
So, like what are some of the things that you could share though with going back to relationships
Yeah. Let's dive
to
back
help
into
with any blocks that are associated to love and happiness. And of course, it could relate to business if they're feeling blocked, that loving this work that they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like I have a formula. I'm transitioning away. Actually, we talked about twin flames. The word twin flame, it blew up on YouTube, and my purpose was to be like, don't do what I did. Like I obsessed with the false twin flame. My message was like, you
Hmm.
didn't ruin your life if he left you. You are still worthy, and you're going to call in the highest expression of love when you heal what is here. You can't go back, like you can't go back and redo that. He's already gone. So I started teaching about twin flames from this really unique divine feminine, follow your pleasure, heal yourself, step into your. So I created this the 11 phases of twin flame alchemy. It's actually 12 because phase 0, the nothing 0 point. But basically now I'm transitioning to calling things sacred love, not calling things twin flame, because I
I
would
like
say
that.
that the term twin flame got kind of hijacked and misused, as so many different spiritual teachings and concepts do. So for the
Hmm.
sake of just not getting mixed up with different like twin flame cults and dark
Yeah, and maybe this is a renewal time, and that's probably what they're teaching us because it's as we're building the new earth, we can call it whatever we want and call it something that is more aligned with divinity.
Yeah, and I love, I mean, who doesn't want sacred love? It's
Hmm.
inclusive to flowers, to anything. It's not limited
Sounds
to whether
exciting. Yeah.
some concept. But so this what I was saying is I have this 11 phases of sacred love alchemy where you start at the lower chakras and you work your way up. And basically the lower chakras are more like as we know, survival, ancestral. So we work on ancestral patterns. We work on
Mhm.
letting go of exes, toxic relationships, karmic patterns, past life stuff. A lot of it's like let go, clear blocks. It can feel a little bit heavy to start there, but as I'm always teaching, like turn your busyness into blissness, turn your heavy karmic ancestral toxic patterns into a party. Like let's have some fun. So
Oh, that sounds like my kind of party.
exactly, exactly. So, and now that I say that out loud, I'm like, isn't that what a lot of people do? They're like drinking wine, binge drinking. They're ancestral entities. It's not a very conscious way, but like they're ancestral
Different kind
entities
of party.
with trauma. They're just trying to soothe the inner child, getting drunk. But no, we do it in a more conscious, intentional, clean, clear way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the phases continue throughout. So the first phase is let go, let love. And I just did a workshop last week on X out your ex's energy. A lot of people are carrying an ex's energy around. A lot of times it could be the person they married, it could be multiple exes, it could be like all their exes. A lot of times people imagine the grandma that just saves every little trinket and her drawers are like full of stuff. Well, it starts to
Mhm.
collect residue, clutter, the energy you feel like, I want to get out of here. There's no room for a fresh relationship. So we have to declutter our closets and our drawers when it comes to our relationships. And a lot of times that looks like clearing um, karma, or doing cord cuttings, clearing whatever the karmic pattern was. Maybe it was a past life connection that never got resolved. So I am a certified past life regression therapist. And sometimes if there's a past life, we'll either do a regression or a reading, and then we'll rewrite that past life. And the crazy thing is, say you died in a flood. You and maybe that was your husband in a past life, or maybe it was your child, and there's like this guilt. If you rewrite it from the life that you have now, you're not dying, you're not drowning. Okay, this is a great time to rewrite it. Actually, rewrite it so everything ended up like the waters ended up moving somewhere else, or the dark powers that created the flood, like we avoided that. Um, and we got to live a fulfilling, healthy life. Well, the crazy thing is, this lifetime, a lot of times the heaviness, the symptoms will resolve, even if they're health symptoms. Rewriting a past life where we might have like asthma from that drowning, suddenly the symptoms start to heal. So rewriting the past
Mhm.
is super powerful. Doing that with a mentor, doing that on your own, doing it in a deep regression session. Sometimes we just, I would say, gnostically or synchronistically will manifest. Oh, I'm in a past life experience right now in a cool way. Like sometimes when they put together workshops or retreats, it's like, oh my God, I feel like I know you in a past life. And like this is the time where we get to like build good stuff and maybe stuff from the past that never got
Mm-hmm.
healed. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
say we're constantly kind of in the hologram hitting up against energies that we're meant to, as long as we're on that healing path. It's like,
Yeah.
show me what needs to be resolved. It does come through. Do you know Brian Weiss? He's like an MD, Hay
Yeah.
House like,
Didn't he
celebrity.
talk about like past lives?
Yes, yes, he was a
He did so
psychiatrist
many
who,
studies on that.
yeah, like he's like, I think he trained at like Columbia, Harvard,
Mm-hmm.
mainstream guy. And then he started to accidentally regress people into their past
Yeah.
lives. He's like, what's happening? Well, I went to his workshop in San Diego at the Hay House I Can Do It Festival, and I watched a room full of people remember the same past life. I had been to Egypt. I came in halfway through the meditation because I was actually helping an ex-boyfriend man
Wow.
his
Yeah.
booth. I snuck in and I got to be a witness, and we resolved a very intense past life together.
Wow.
And Brian said, this is it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And it's usually not the same place. Like he's like, it'll be Brazil. It's not always just Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But I
That's really
love
cool.
that we always have the opportunity to heal our stuff. So if there's anything we don't resolve this lifetime, you
Yeah.
have another chapter, but why not do the best to
Right. Do the best. Yeah,
live
exactly.
here, heal it here, have what you want here? Yeah. So yeah, the alchemy, I try and make it fun. There's different, I don't want to go through all the really the 12 phases and the 11 phases of twin flame alchemy, but you go from a lot of ancestral cleanup work, past life cleanup work, understanding why you chose certain challenges in this lifetime, and then rewrite the agreement. So maybe sometimes it might say, I wanted to be not a virgin, but like in a past life, I have clients that have come to me where they had vows of celibacy. They were like, I give myself to God. And in this lifetime, they're
I had a
like, God,
million of
I
those.
yes, I think a lot of us have had those celibacy or financial, vows of poverty, those things. And then it's like, whoa, I forgot to not vow myself for all eternity. This lifetime, I really like my credit card bill to look kind of prettier than it does. Or so
Yeah.
clearing up those past lives and then also very clearly writing what we want instead. And what I want to say with that is we don't always know what we really want until we heal the past pattern. Um, we might actually have had our entire life coming from like a trauma bond or a fantasy. And then when we're actually tuning into what's real, what's right now, it might be less, like with me, it might be less extreme. I was like, I want to have this guy that sweeps me off my feet. That's like this millionaire, this fantasy, this exciting thing. And instead, what I really needed was this loving soul that could ride this journey with me, come and
Mm-hmm.
do orgasmic birth in Bali, be open-minded. He's a wizard. He
Mm-hmm.
does his own divine masculine healing arts, and we're such a great counterbalance to each
Yes.
other. It's what I needed, but my mind was, well, it's like, this is what it should be. So that was the
Mhm.
trauma bond version of me saying, this is what I need. The real healed, self-loving, ego deft being in me was like, ah, this is what I need. And in ways, sometimes I'll ask my clients, is like, if you were to have a baby, like usually my clients are women, if you were to have a baby girl, what kind of dad would you want for her? Don't forget to write that into what you want for your life partner. Like I
Oh,
want
good point.
gentle, steady,
Mhm.
those were when I was thinking about my sexy guy, I was like, ew, make him tall, make him handsome, make him successful, make him, I want him to be around, wants to get married, but I didn't really think about all the things, but the little girl, like, I want him to play with me. I want him to take me to
Mhm.
the zoo. Like we go to the zoo every weekend, my daughter, my husband, and I. And I love just being a little kid and goofball with my husband and with my daughter. It's just so much fun. And he does too. But I couldn't have had that with my ex because he was a workaholic, working all the time, would have never,
Mhm.
would have happened like once a year. So find those things that your inner child wants, and the universe
Yeah.
wants to give that to you. That's like a fiery energy, or a very magnetic energy in the law of attraction, is our inner child's medicine. The child
Yes.
is very connected to spirit. So
Yes.
what
Very
he or
much.
she wants is what God wants for you.
Very much so. And I love that healing, manifesting from a healing state. It's so key rather than a trauma state or a block state.
Exactly. And edging into the sacred sexuality piece, so much of us have either generational sexual trauma or have experienced some type of sexual trauma, whether it's something more extreme, like an abusive situation growing up, or just like a negative body image thing, a theme that's been creating like an imbalance, a disempowered type of sexual energy. What I love about the sacred sexual union is that our tantric container that can be created with our partner can be completely safe. You can fully let out all sides of yourself. Sometimes it takes some tools and some learning. And what I used to do in my past life as me before I went on this spiritual healing path was like sex was more like about the bodies. It was like about orgasm. It was about being sexy. It was about turning each other on. It was about like a porn star, I want to be a priestess in the modern day. And like now it's so different. It's about connecting on that soul level and bringing our soul into our body. And sometimes there's, can bring us into like that flamey sacral energy. It's like painting a picture where you're like excited, like get in the mess, get in
Mhm.
the paint. And when we're that artist, we're channeling the spiritual energies. So
Mhm.
I love I love doing the preparation work before. Um, the Christian thing of like no sex before marriage, to me, it feels very confining, but I also
Mhm.
like some of the flavor of prepare yourself for your sacred sexual union. Have
Yes.
your sacred love vows, your sacred marriage vows, get clear
Mhm.
on what your intentions are for each other before like jumping into bed accidentally, or maybe actually having a baby,
Mhm.
almost actually, or actually having a baby together, where
Yeah.
you're like bringing in baby spirits, like create this like solid sacred container for your
Yeah.
union and for yourself and for each other. So you can let your partner cry, you can cry, you can try
Mhm.
something out that's like bringing up shame, and it's like you can laugh at it, like that's great, you tried out this move and it didn't really work, but we're laughing, you hit each other in the face.
I love
That's
that.
divine love. And then you can bring the law of attraction, magnetizing what you want. We've manifested our home in Bali. Monica, you came and stopped by before
This
we bought
beautiful
it. We
home.
were
Yeah.
walking through the rice field. I was like, do you want to be inside this house that we
Yeah,
might
it's
end up being this
gorgeous.
through crazy synchronicity through a family friend from California, like our next
Yeah.
door neighbor selling this house. I was like, whoa, that's a small world. But we had been manifesting with orgasm. We call in our dream home. It's so nice.
It's the sacred orgasm, and that's the way that we were meant to be in that natural state because orgasm is manifesting also when it is, in that sacred union within yourself, but also with your lifetime divine partner, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. And the more we spend time together in that healing space, the more we come into oneness. And then at the same time, we become one, we feel so safe. All of a sudden, our subconscious parts of ourselves wake up. Oh, the part that doesn't like myself, the part of me that used to be a pirate, like to like tear down women, like these archetypes can come up. And
Mhm.
the cool thing is, in the safety of the boudoir, we can play with the energies, we can heal them, we can embrace them. It's like we can play, literally we can play dress up with them and like act them out and heal them, because we are in this divine union, this loving space. Whereas in the past, it was the illusion of separation was seemed very real. We were in different bodies, we had different
Yeah.
stories. So I love
Yeah.
that creative space that a
I
divine
love
union
that.
has.
That is beautiful. Would you be open to doing like a collective channeling or anything else you want to
I
share in
would
regards to
love
that?
to.
I'm
Yes,
excited.
I'll do it.
I love
Okay.
I love your channelings, by the way. So
Oh, thank you. I love channeling. I could do it all day long, which I kind of do a lot of the time.
we kind of do in a way, but when you do it like a very focused,
Yeah,
intentional.
let's drop in.
It's a nice
Let's drop.
treat.
I'm just going to tune into your audience and feel into each of you here and channel a collective message. But what I'm going to say is I'm going to say it to you as if you're individual, because we are individuals. And this is the message for each of us. Calling in Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Sometimes the love that you find seems less shimmery than the love that you remember from the creator. There's this part of yourself that wants that brightness, that bright, shimmery energy, this intensity, this extremity that you long for. It's already inside of you. You have never left home. You are the one in the holographic fractal form. And so, as you are looking for this intense shining light in the lover, in the other, you are also coming into the divine mother and the divine father in yourself. When you create a lasting union. But what happens is when we chase those shiny objects, it can feel very far from home. By the act of chasing, we can create a repulsion. Because if your hand is moving in the water and you move towards something you want, an object, like say there's a beach ball floating on the water and you move your hand, you can actually push it away when you reach for it. So there is this opposite type of energy that is being required when you see a shiny object, when there's a fantasy that starts to build in you about a relationship, let's say. Is he the one? Are they the one? Are they my beloved? Ooh, I would look great in this type of wedding dress. Ooh, we could buy a house. That's okay. In heaven, where you come from, when your mind goes to these thoughts, you create it instantly. You live in that reality. Here, as you know, not so much. It's slower, it's denser. So instead of using those fantasies of like, I want that person, I want to marry them, I want this, I want this, ooh, and there's this particular flashy, excited, bright energy. Pull it into yourself. Breathe it into your lungs, breathe it into your chakras. I am the one I have been looking for. What an amazing, loving energy that I have to share with others in so many forms. So it's almost like pulling it inwards and up and down your line of chakras versus shooting it outwards. And this will help you to overcome a separation pattern, a separation trauma. There's a separation trauma, and this is the last part of the channeling. When you descend from heaven to earth, there's a veil, and it is the reptilian brain. It is a reptilian shield of energy that's been taking a lot of light, and to pass through it without going through that death and rebirth, resurrection trauma, pull within yourself. Become so tight with yourself that you become complete emptiness, darkness, pitch black, pure form of divine feminine love. And then you will fit through the keyhole and come down. And every interaction you have with any being coming so deep within divine love within yourself, no matter what happens, will allow you the cosmic code through which you create your own love story. The beloveds in your life will start to circulate around you in your self-love pattern versus seeking externally, pushing it away, that water that pushes the beach ball down the river. You pulling it into yourself will allow those to come in. And you can invite them in. You can host soul family parties. You can go online dating. You can go out to places where you feel you might meet someone. You can say hello. You can be extroverted. It's not about punishing yourself with the loneliness, abandoned child pictures. That's not what self-love is. That's not what this pulling inward is. It's a feeling and a frequency where you are completely home within yourself, where you are completely held by the divine mother womb inside yourself, as you're completely protected and loved by the divine father yourself. And that divine father, mother, God, goddess energy completes you. At the same time, you live in a world that feels a little incomplete, a little scary, a little traumatizing. You'll have more capacity, more resilience to move through it. And practice makes perfect. You will fall off the horse, you will get back on. You'll live in this divine state, and then you'll get amnesia, go into love addictions, go into problems, and then you just come back. But placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your sacral area, your hara, your womb. I am the one. I am the sun. And I am the fun. I am the one. I am the sun. And I am the fun. And what I really feel from that is we are all one, and I am one within that. It's all a hologram. I am the sun, which is, I am that light. I am that creator. We get to create from that I am, and I have the freedom. I can change my karma, I can rewrite it. And I am the fun is like, what do I want from this? What do I experience in my own creations? And what do I want to experience from my own creations? And get in that essence and live it, whether it's painting, whether it's creating something juicy in the kitchen, whether it's calling soul family over and having a delightful dinner, whether it's taking a bath, going for a walk, like give yourself those expressions, because fun, joy, bliss, ease, creativity, it's all a gift straight from the one. And that's what's going to stoke your inner divine sun, which is that heart chakra connection as well, and the twin flame bond or the sacred union. Right. So that channeling feels complete. Thank you for riding along with me.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much. I really felt my heart just expand even more, just, hearing that, the energy of it. I was feeling the energy of it, and also the words, but I was just really feeling like this really high, intense, like joy vibe in my heart. So it was just so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. So glad I wore my rose quartz chakra
Ooh,
activating.
that's what it was. I was kidding. But that
Yeah,
was
I've been
very
working
beautiful.
so long, but
Yeah, that's beautiful.
uh,
And that was God is Aphrodite, right? God is the
yeah,
creator.
yeah. So I channel from my higher self, and my
Mhm.
higher self is connected to Venus. I've experienced it like very deeply as like, oh wow, like I am her, I come from her. I think we're all the planets, there's no separation, but I
Yeah.
definitely have this deep resonance. And I didn't even know that when I channeled. I'm like, Aphrodite. I didn't know she was goddess Venus, but I channeled Aphrodite
Mhm.
University, Divine Feminine University.
Yeah.
And then later on, she started coming to me as this Venusian priestess. And yeah, when I channel from her, it's just, I kind of channel this like amethyst and rose quartz energy, and
Mhm.
love messages just naturally come through. It
Yeah,
feels
that's what
really
I was feeling, and I definitely feel a lot of Venus energy in you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a challenge being named Amanda because I looked up the name meaning and it's beloved. And now I'm like, okay, I got to the point where like I have a healthy relationship. I feel very loved. I love it. But for many years, I'm
Mhm.
like, parents, why did you give me this stupid name? It's the worst karma. I'm like, no one loves me. I'm always getting heartbroken. And now I'm like, okay, like
Now you
I
get
chose
it.
it. I chose to learn how to be the
Yes,
beloved and remember the Venusian codes. And yeah,
that
we're
is
not
beautiful.
in Venus where it's love all the time. It is Earth School, and we're doing a
Yes.
great job to do our
Yay.
best.
That's right. We're all doing a great job. We're doing the best we can. So let us come to a conclusion now. And are there any closing or final thoughts you have for us?
Love yourself. It's the biggest gift that you can give to the world. When you love yourself, it opens a whole floodgate of opportunities so that others can remember that frequency of self-love and create divine soul connections, whether it's a twin flame union, soul family, like I have with my sister Monica here. And y'all love yourself, love yourself, love yourself.
That's right. Thank you so much for emphasizing that and helping us to stay in that remembrance. And so, thank you again for being on my podcast. For those who want to connect with Dr. Amanda Noel, you'll find a lot of her contact information in the episode notes. She has a YouTube channel of many followers. It's called Dr. Amanda Noel. So, you'll find the links in there. So, thank you again, Dr. Amanda. And if there's anything else you would like to share, please let us know.
Yeah, no, that's it. Follow me on Insta. It's all Dr. Amanda Noelle. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, my website, Dr. Amanda Noelle. And yeah, just thank you so much for this opportunity, Monica. We've been talking about co-creating together in this level for so long, and it's just such a delicious treat. And I look forward to many more. And I can't wait to see
Oh,
you
yes.
again in Shasta this summer and in Bali next year.
Yay. Oh my goodness, you
Wonderful.
got me all excited.
Yeah,
So, thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you so much. And thank you to the listeners for being here and listening to this special message. So, I wish you a happy sacred union. That's
Woohoo! Love sparkles.
right.